Good morning. I, Dr. Karuna Sigul, Associate Professor, Department of CSC, SG Balekundri Institute of Technology, Belgavi. So today I would like to discuss the next program, that is program 5, calculation of the electricity bill. So let's go through the problem statement before we proceed with. An electricity board charges the following rates for the use of electricity. For the first 200 units, 80 paisa per unit. For the next 100 units, 90 paisa per unit. Beyond 300 units, rupees 1 per unit. All users are charged a minimum of rupees 100 as meter charge. If the total amount is more than rupees 400, then an additional surcharge of 15% of the total amount is charged. Write a program to read the name of the user, number of units consumed, and print out the charges. So this is very simple concept where we need to consider the ranges, and depending on the ranges, we'll try to calculate the charges or the electricity bill. Okay, so whenever we take care of the ranges there, it's a best habit of usage of either else if ladder or maybe the switch statement. Okay, so looking at the problem statement, you have to either choose the switch statement or the else if ladder. Right, so in this case, we feel the else if ladder is the best process or best syntax for writing the C program over here. So let's look into the problem statement before we proceed with writing either algorithm or the program for the same thing. So we are supposed to calculate the electricity bill here, what they have mentioned. Okay, so this is the consumption of the unit. Okay, for the first 200 units, it's 80 paisa per unit, right? So if you consume 0 to 200 units, you need to pay 80 paisa, okay, 0.8 paisa, sorry, 0.8 rupee per unit, right, or 80 paisa per unit. If the range is crossed, okay, if it is more than 200, okay, greater than 200, okay, but, and they are saying, okay, for the next 100 units, means it's less than 300, okay, whatever unit I'm going to consider, if the unit is more than 200 and unit is, right, so less than 300, okay, so now next 100 means up, you people can take up to, okay, so 200, it is greater than 200, right? Okay, so now it is less than or equal to unit is less than or equal to 300. Okay, for another 100 units, more than 200 units is charged as 90 paisa per unit, right? So this is what they have given. Next is beyond 300 units. So greater than 300 units, okay, units greater than 300, okay, is you need to pay 1 rupee, okay, 1 rupee per unit. So this is what is given there, 1 rupee per unit. All the users charged a minimum of 100 rupees. Whether you consume the units or no, minimum you have to pay 100 rupees, and we consider or call it as a meter charge. Okay, whether you consume the units, you don't consume the units, so minimum you have to pay 100 meter, 100 rupees meter charge, right? Okay. The meaning of this is, so for every charge calculation, you need to add this 100 rupees. Okay. Next, after doing all those things, once you get some amount there, whatever charge you have calculated, you have to check that amount. If that charge is more than 400 rupees, whatever amount you have calculated, if that amount is more than 400 rupees, then you need to pay an extra surcharge. That is 15%. Right, so whatever amount that you are going to get here, so if it is greater than, if it is 401 rupee or 410 rupee or 500 rupees, 800 rupees, okay, so that for that amount, okay, you have to pay 15% extra, right? So this is what they have mentioned in the problem statement. So let's look into the problem statement or the algorithm. Okay, so which is going to do the task that is mentioned over here. Start with the problem now. Okay, so first we'll write the algorithm. So we are going to read the name because they have told us to read the name and the unit there. Once you read the unit there, then what we are supposed to do? Okay, so now minimum 100 rupees you have to pay whether you consume the unit or if you are not consuming the unit. Next, first one is first range that is given for us is you already know it is 0 to 200. So for this you have to pay 80 paisa okay unit and plus 100. This is the minimum charge that you are supposed to pay. Right, so that's what we are mentioning here. So I'll write the same thing. Charge is equal to unit into 80 paisa plus 100 rupees. Okay, so this is the first range. So second range, if you look at, so I'll go ahead with the second range now. That is more than 200, less than or equal to 300. Okay, so I'll simply say it is because it's else if ladder. If this condition is false, okay, false condition of this is nothing but the unit is more than 200 itself, right? Okay, unit is more than 200, then only it is going to else part there. So there is no question of checking for the lower bound there. So I'll check for only the upper bound. So if else unit is less than or equal to 300. So in that case, for the first 200 units, you'll be paying 80 paisa only. For the above 200 units, you'll be paying the 90 paisa there. That's what that I've given there. So for 200, if it is 80 paisa, right? So then the total amount is, if I am not wrong, it is 160 rupees that you have to pay for the first 200 units and plus minimum 100 rupees that you have to pay. So totally you have to pay 260 if it is crossing the 300, sorry, crossing the 200 units there. So that's what we are mentioning here. For 200 units, charge is 80 paisa itself. It is 160 minimum, and that's what I have mentioned here. Okay, so about 200 units. Okay, that is total unit that is given minus 200 is going to extra units that we have consumed above 200 units, right? So if it is something like if I have read it as 250, right? So 50 is an extra unit that we have consumed after 200 units, right? So for that we have to pay, only for that we have to pay 90 paisa. For 200 units we are paying the same amount that I have mentioned here, 160, and this is the minimum meter charge that you have to pay, right? Okay, 200 less than 300, the false condition of that is so more than 300 units, right? Okay, that is a false condition of the else if here. So in this case, the range that is given for us is more than 300. Okay, so I'll write it as unit more than 300, right? Okay, so it is up to you people, whatever amount that you are asking for. Okay, for 200 units, charge is 200 into 80 paisa. That's minimum. I mean, that's for the 200 units, and for the above 100 units, that is range from 201 to 300 units. You have to pay 90 paisa. So that's 90 rupees over here, and minimum charge you have to pay is 100 rupees. So therefore, the total unit that is coming over the 300 units is unit minus 300. That's what we are supposed to write, and for that we have to pay 1 rupee there, right? That's what we are writing in this case. Charge is equal to unit minus 300. So why it is unit minus 300? Because for above 300 units, whatever units that we are consuming, for that we have to pay 1 rupee. Okay, if it is in the range of 200 to 300, that time we'll be paying 90 paisa, and it is about 90 rupees. If it is in the range of 0 to 200, that time we'll be writing it as, or will be taking only 80 paisa per unit charge. According to that, for 200 unit, it is 160. And this is a minimum amount that we have to pay, meter charge. So meter charge for the, minimum meter charge, and this is for the 0 to 200 units. So this is, I'll say it's for 200 units, it's 160. For 200 to 300, that is for the above 200 units, 100 units above 200, so that is we need to pay 90 rupees. And for this, right, so it's crossing 300 units. If I have entered the unit as something like 350 here, right, so for 350 minus, okay, I'll write it as 300, so I'll get this as 50. For 50 I'll be paying only 1 rupee. Okay, for this 300, so this is again divided into two parts, so 200 and 100 here. So this 100 is over 200. For this I'll be asking you people to pay 90 paisa, right? For this I'll be asking you people to pay 80 paisa, right? So according to this it is 160, according to this is 90 rupees, right? So this is a minimum metric charge. So this is how usually we are calculating the electricity bill for this now. Okay. Next, we'll proceed with. Okay. So this is all about finding the total amount of, I mean, the total charge depending on the units that you people have consumed. So we got the amount now. Once we get the amount, they told us that if the charge, whatever you have calculated, right, so this may be this charge or this may be this charge or any this charge or this charge. Okay, whatever charge you people have calculated over here. Okay, whatever charge you have calculated here, if it is crossing 400 rupees, if it is crossing 400 rupees, right, if it is more than 400 rupees, then what you're supposed to do, you have to pay an extra 15%. Okay, if it is greater, okay, so if you can consider equal to, it is left to you people. Okay, if it is greater than 400 rupees, then we have to pay 15% extra charge on the 400 rupees, right? Okay, so that's what we are considering in this case now. Okay. Next, we'll take care of the same thing now. How do we do that? I'll again check for the condition, because if the amount is more than 400 rupees, then only I'll do that. So I'll check for the same condition. If the charge is more than 400 rupees, right, then I'll be asking you people to pay extra amount. This is 15% extra charge. Okay, plus this charge. Okay, this charge minimum and this charge that you have calculated plus 15% extra that you have to pay. Right, so once you get this, right, so this I'll be doing if the charge is greater than 400. Otherwise, whatever charge you people have calculated in the LCF ladder, the same charge I'll be printing there. Okay, finally I am going to print the name of the unit holder or the meter holder and the charge that you have consumed. The charge that you have to pay there. Let's look into the program now. Okay, so again we'll be including the stdio.h for the input output functions. Okay, then so for the name I'll be using the string name of 15. So the number of characters that you people can write for this name is minimum 15 characters, right? Okay, so unit floating point value, so how much unit you are going to consume. All right, okay, so you can consider take it as integer also, then afterwards you while calculation, so it is automatically or implicitly converted into a floating point value. Okay, charges the floating point value, because amount is they have given it as 80 paisa 90 paisa, then it has to be taken as a floating point value there, right? Okay, so it is asking you people to enter the name of the person along with the units consumed there. That's what we are entering here. All right, once we enter there, so I'll check for the first condition. If the unit is less than 200, less than or equal to 200, then I'll be asking you to calculate the charge. So charge is equal to unit into 80 paisa plus 100. So it is true for less than or equal to 200 units. So 0 to, okay, less than or equal to 200 units. For that particular range, it is you need to pay 15%. It is so, because if this is not true, okay, please remember, if it is not true, then only I'll be going ahead with the LCF ladder here, LCF part here. So if this is not true, means it is not less than or equal to 200, then it has to be more than 200 units then. Okay, then if it is more than 200 units, then I'll check whether it is less than 300 or what. Okay, so because I wanted to take only the 100 units more than the 200 units, right? Okay, so now that's what I am considering here. So charge is equal to unit minus 200. Okay, I want only the amount, sorry, units above the 200 units. So that's why I am deducting 200 from it. For that, I need to pay 90 paisa, and this is the unit charge that you have to pay for the first 200 units, and the minimum charge is 100 rupees. And else part of it is not less than or equal to 200, it's not less than or equal to 300, then it must be greater than 300. So this is what is else part talks about. So this is telling me that whatever unit that you have consumed is more than 300 units, right? Okay, if it is true, then in that case, what we are saying, so charge. Okay, charge is equal to unit minus 300, because only about 300 units we need to pay 1 rupee. For the 200, about 200 to 300 units we need to pay 90 paisa. 0 to 200 units, that is up to 200 units, and you need to pay 80 paisa there. Depending on that, we are doing the calculation. We have done the same thing here. So this is for 160 for 200 units, and the above 200 units, I mean 300, till 300 units is 90 paisa, and for the above 100 units after 200 units, we are writing it as 90 rupees, and minimum charge is 100 rupees, right? Okay, so once we do this calculation, I'll check it out. Okay, so we are ended with our LCF ladder. We got the charge there. Then we'll use a simple if to check whether the amount is greater than 400 or what. If the amount is greater than 400, then what we are supposed to do? Then we'll take care that we need to pay an extra surcharge there. So that is 15%, that is given over there. So charge is equal to charge plus extra 15% on the charge that you have calculated. Finally, we are going to print the same thing there. All right. Okay, so now name of the person and amount that you are supposed to pay as the electricity bill. The last statement of the program is return 0. Okay, so if you are used int main there, you use the return 0. Otherwise, simply close the main brace there. So let's look into the sample examples over here. Okay, so now first sample example is we have taken name of the person followed by the unit consumed here. Okay, so it is 150. According to 150, it is in the range of 0 to 200. So we need to pay only 80 paisa per unit there. So if you multiply this 0.8 into 150, okay, I'll be getting it as something like 220 rupees, because after adding whatever amount you are going to get here. So this is, I think, 150 into, so 0.8 into 150 units is 120 rupees plus 100 rupees. Okay, so I need to pay it is 220, right? Okay, so similarly, if you go ahead with this, so 250 units that they have entered here. Okay, for 200 units you need to pay 80 paisa, and for 50 you need to pay 90 paisa, and minimum 100. Okay, that you have to meter charge you have to pay there. Okay, you already know this is 160 and 0.9 paisa, 0.9 into only 50 units are there above 200. Okay, plus 160 plus 100 is yielding us what we call it as 305, and it is giving me the right answer there, right? So if you look at this, I'm not giving any extra surcharge for this because it is less than 400 here, right? So whatever calculation I'm going to do in the LCF ladder, the same thing I'm getting on the output screen there. Okay, so if it is crossing that, that's what I was mentioning. If you look at 365, if you go ahead with this 365 there, so now the total amount that you need to pay, if you look at that, I'll write that. So for the first 100 units, 200 units, you need to pay 160. Okay, then above 200 and till 300, you need to pay 90 rupees and minimum 100, and above is 65 into 1 rupee. So total is, if I am not wrong, it is, I think, 160 plus 90 plus 100 plus 65 is 300, and I made a mistake there. Okay, 160 plus 90 plus 100 plus 65 is 450, right? So 415 is the total amount I need to pay. but here in this case it is greater than 400. Whatever amount that I have calculated is greater than 400 rupees. In that case, I need to pay an extra 15% on 400 rupees. Okay, that is 415 into 15%. Okay, 15% is nothing but 0.15. Okay, 415 into 0.15 I have to calculate. So that is nothing but something like 62 rupees and 25 plus 25 paisa, plus I need to add whatever amount I got as 415. If I do that, I'll be getting it as around about 477 rupees 25 paisa. Okay, so people can take care of printing only 2 digits after decimal point also using the what we call format specifiers, using a particular format specifier. Something like, if I write format, if it is this, okay, it is going to print these many digits, 1 2 3 4 6 digits here, right? Instead of this, if you write this as percentage, okay, 0.2f there, right? Okay, simply, sorry, percentage 2f there, 0.2f there, it's going to give you only 2 digits after decimal point. Right, so this is how it is going to work. Okay, so now we have calculated the electricity bill, and okay, so this is all about the electricity bill. Thank you so much.